Thank you, Vishwa Master. So, so that's how we have treated this. So, let me go to the next slide. So, as a preface, okay, this is much of what we know about our ancestors from the time before Christ can be attributed to the study of ancient man, as he lived in what could be called the cradle of civilization. That is, the Middle East area called the Fertile Crescent, reaching from Persian Gulf to the Red Sea, encompassing the area of Tigris and Euphrates throughout the Mediterranean Sea. This is from the book Bible as a History. So Dr. Warner Keller. So here comes where, see, I am answering where part of it, where let us understand the geography where the history sleeps. So here is the Fertile Crescent onto your left hand side, and this is the political map of recently of the region on your right side. The Fertile Crescent translates the following modern countries. That's it starts from Kuwait, Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Israel. So it forms a horseshoe. So it does not, carry the entire, the Persian desert, but it's a horseshoe where it forms a structure wherein it touches both the rivers Tigris and Euphrates as well as the Mediterranean, sea. So this is basically, this makes this land very fertile so that the civilization grows. So this is how, if you see the Mesopotamian area, this also connects the Mesopotamian area that includes majorly Iraq, Syria, and parts of Turkey with the rivers Tigris and Euphrates flowing from times immemorial. So if you see the Egyptian civilization, it was built in and around the river Nile. If you see Indus Valley civilization, it was it has come up in and around river Indus. So these rivers are very, very crucial, and the Mediterranean Sea too was very, very crucial for this Fertile Crescent. So that takes the where part of it. So now let me get you the when part of it. This is a timeline relevance, wherein I am just taking you something very closer to the theory of relativity. See, I want you to all the brethren to understand what I am here coming to say is that the relevance of King Solomon's temple to around 32 centuries. Okay, where I just want to give a relative time span. So if you see, I know these pictures will be very familiar to you. In 2800 BC, okay, we had the pyramids, the Great Pyramids, the Sphinx, the Great Sphinx at Giza. Okay, and I've just picked the most outstanding event or a character for this period of thing, just to get a hands on. And in 2300 to 2100, we had this I guess you will be knowing about this character. He was called Hammurabi. Hammurabi is a King Hammurabi of Babylon, and he was the first one to introduce Hammurabi code. Till today, even it is it is very, very prevalent in in many of our countries. And then it comes 2100 to 2300 is the Ramayana era. Okay, and here in 1500 to 1100 is where this is called, I suppose many of the brethren would recollect. This is the Trojan horse, which was it was a famous horse which has been recorded by Homer of who wrote Odyssey, wherein this horse was very instrumental in capturing the city of Troy by the Greeks. So after that, the timeline goes to the famous the iconoclastic structure that we are discussing about, the Temple of King Solomon. That is the area, in that area, that is what has been the famous thing which was standing about. And then in 800 to 600 BC, this where 600 BC is where Gautama Buddha was was there, who has made his mark. Then here comes from 600 to 400 is where is one of another person, maybe on an anti-climax method or anti-climax rate is where is he has, even though he was a brilliant warrior, but he has had a negative thought. Okay, he is King Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, who destroyed the King Solomon's temple in 526 BC. So that is around 2000 years after, no, or 2000, sorry, 2000 years before Babur attacked India in 1526, and the Mughal rule started in India. So this is not particularly which I'm talking about only on one one portion of the world. It is sweeping across the world. And here comes the next 12 centuries at a glance. 400 to 200 is this is where King Alexander the Great was was capturing and expanding Roman Empire left, right, center, and there Jesus Christ was born in zero. So that's from there it started the AD period, that is the Common Era period, CE. So the from 300 at 300 AD was this is Mayan civilization, Temple of Machu Picchu. Then this is another famous figure which is there on 300 to 500. That is around 400 AD. Was Chanakya. He was the prime minister for Chandragupta Maurya, and he was till now many of his his theories and hypotheses are being used today also in the political world. And from 500 to 600, that era was 600 AD was Prophet Muhammad was born, and he has founded Islam. So look at the time relevance from 600 AD we are talking about, and we are talking about 900 BC. So there is a difference between these two events which happened in history. So that takes, I'm just giving you a relative thing. So we are talking about some 32 centuries back things which happened, and and we are talking something very real. So the when part is being covered now, the who part. So when I take this topic, there are certain people who comes and goes into this in this entire gamut of things. So here so I want the president to know the iconic figures in this paper, who are which will help to understand and start relating to things. So this is Moses. Moses is a reluctant savior of Israel in its exodus from Egypt bondage to promised land. Moses mediates between God and people, transporting the Israelites from an oppressed ethnic group into a nation founded on religious laws, that is Israel. Moses' legendary miracles before Pharaoh, along with his doubts and insecurities, makes him the great mortal hero of the Old Testament. So you can say 10 Commandments, it is Moses. So he is the only man ever to know God face to face. And 4 out of the 5 books of Pentateuch are devoted to Moses and Israel's activities under his leadership. So especially in the Jews, the book first, the Old Testament, contains the first 5 books are called the Torah, and 4 books are dedicated to Moses. Okay, that is the Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, and Deuteronomy is the 5th book. So from there we have Joshua. So there are certain mention of Joshua in our in our rituals, Masonic rituals too. So Joshua was a military leader of Israelites when Moses was heading the tribe. After the death of Moses, the baton was passed to Joshua, and according to God's command, he now had to lead the tribe to the promised land. But the promised land and the neighboring path route were already inhabited by different tribes who practice idolatry and different religions. So Joshua took up the mantle and started conquering these lands and kingdoms one by one with the help of God. So that's Joshua. He's a great brave warrior. Then comes Samuel. Samuel was considered to be a great prophet and judge of Israel. So he was the wartime and peacetime ruler. You can say not a ruler. He is basically into a prophetic profession rather than a aristocratic or a authoritative profession. So he was prophetic, and he was the one who introduced monarchy from prophecy to monarchy. He was the one who introduced monarchy to Israel because all the 12 tribes who were there at that point of time were needing a king to lead them. So he was the first to anoint Saul as the first king, and later David as the second king of Israel. Then the most famous of the entire icons, the King David, father of King Solomon. So the king of Israel and founder of Jerusalem or Zion, David's reign was around 40 years, 1010 to 970, marks a high point of Israel in the biblical narrative. Although David's claims to the throne is threatened by Saul and by David's own son, Absalom, David maintains his power by blending shrewd political maneuvering with a magnanimous, forgiving treatment of his enemy. This is one of the classic and very outstanding nature of King David. And David's decision to bring the Ark of Covenant, Israel's symbol of God, to the capital of Jerusalem signals the long awaited unification of religious and political life of Israel in the Promised Land. So David, today also in the corporate world, we used to say, okay, yeah, it's a David versus Goliath, story. So we can't compete or something like that. But David was a very brave and very confident shepherd boy who downed a Philistine, gigantic figure called Goliath in a one-to-one, compact. Okay, that has earned him a lot of appreciation and made him the general of King Saul's army, and after that he went on to become the king. Here comes the famous another most famous King Solomon, who has a lot of reference in our Masonic rituals. So David's son and the third king of Israel, Solomon builds the opulent temple in Jerusalem and ushers in Israel's greatest period of wealth and power. God grants Solomon immense power of knowledge and discernment in response to Solomon's humble request for wisdom. Solomon's earthly success hinders his moral living, and his weakness for foreign women and their deities leads to Israel's downfall. So this I don't have to delve deep into, because Brother John has done a wonderful justice to King Solomon on last lecture. So let me move on. So this the who part is over on this paper. So this is the empire. So this is a what part wherein this is a King David's empire and King Solomon's empire. Okay, King Solomon, he has expanded his empire not by many of these things were not by war. It is by deals. It is by deals, and it is by treaties and things. So he has, he had expanded this empire, pretty much. So the objective and purpose of the paper. The paper offers a comparison between the account of building of King Solomon's temple in Masonic ritual and the accounts given in the Old Testament of Bible. So the main reason for our discussion is that we are talking about something real and was into existence nearly 32 centuries ago. Brethren, we are talking something very real, and what we are following is something very real. So this has been, this research and this paper proves that. The intent is to condense the information regarding the adaptation of story of King Solomon's temple in Masonic ritual into one paper, so that Masonic brethren can study and compare the two accounts more easily. So you don't have to refer different Bibles, different pages, different things. So it is there in this paper. So it concludes that while many similarities between biblical and Masonic account of this event exist, there are also some discrepancies. The account outlines simple methods to draw parallels for our better understanding. So the inspiration and introduction of the paper. The inspiration. So the inspiration, where it came, why I took this topic was, see, during the lockdown days, I was having a chat with my family, and my wife said that women are the foundation of the family, and men are the pillars of the family. So I said, see, I agree with you, but nowhere the foundation has been exalted, but the pillars are exalted. If you see the two pillars of King Solomon's temple, has been always been talked about. So my wife replied. So she said, "From when have you started, following Old Testament so closely?" So that became the trigger, for me to research and to investigate more into this intertwined truths between the scripture and the Masonic, the lectures. So that was the inspiration. And the introduction. Most of the Masonic rituals found in the Bible, okay, is it true or false? Most of the Masonic rituals are found in the Bible. So it is true also, it is false also. Building of King Solomon's temple described in Kings and Chronicle books in Old Testaments. Yes, it is mentioned. Some facts match, some have discrepancies. Yes, true. Discover the accuracy and discrepancies between the two in accounts of events related to the temple. Yes, we will be doing that. Discovery of Masonic ritual in scripture is particularly fascinating. Yes, absolutely fascinating. There are 3 or 4 occasions where I was really flabbergasted. So let me go to the next slide. So the scope of the study. See, the Old Testament. Many of you would have known that the Old Testament, the Bible contains about 66 books. And Bible, just to tell you, in Hebrew, it doesn't mean anything. It is just called the book. And there are 66 books, and it is divided into Old Testament and New Testament. Old Testament had 39 books, and New Testament had 27 books. So here we will be dealing with just 4 books. That is the scope of the study. There is 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, and 2 Chronicles. Here, just to rewind, if I take some words from Brother John's presentation, so he has said King Solomon has written 3 books. Okay, that is, I think you can identify from here, from this presentation. That is Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs. These are the 3, things, Brother John has presented for, in the King Solomon's, in his paper. So next slide. Okay, now let us get into the crux of the matter. So the comparison. This is the how part I'm saying, the comparison, the historic lecture. So here comes the first, thing is that you, in the Masonic lecture, it says you were divested of all metals for 2 reasons. First, that you might carry nothing offensive or defensive into the lodge. Second, at the building of King Solomon's temple, they were not heard the sound of an axe, hammer, or any other tools of iron. The stones were all hewn, squared, and numbered at the quarries where they were raised. So this is the Masonic, version, and I'm just comparing to what is the evidence in the Old Testament, in the Bible. Okay, the Bible says 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 7 reads, "In building the temple, only blocks dressed at the quarry were used, and no hammer, chisel, or any other iron tool was heard at the temple site while it was being built." So the facts match. Going ahead. Next, the timbers felled and prepared in the forest of Lebanon, conveyed by the sea in floats of Joppa, thence by land to Jerusalem, where they are set upon with wooden molds prepared for that purpose. And when the building was completed, its several parts fitted with such extra nicety that it had the more appearance of a handiwork of supreme architect of the universe than of human hands. 2 Chronicles chapter 2 verse 8 to 9 reads, "Also send me," this is from the Bible. The first was the Masonic account. It says that, also send me cedar and cypress and algum logs from Lebanon. From I know that your servants have the skill to cut timber in Lebanon, and indeed my servants will be with your servants to prepare timber for me in abundance. For the temple which I am about to build shall be great and wonderful. Thus read the message of King Solomon to Hiram, king of Tyre. Okay, but the final line in the Masonic account, the final line in the lecture is to stress the importance of symbolic lessons. That is, it was made so nice, so it was added that the handiwork of supreme architect of the universe than of human hands. So that's where the tick on the gavel, the facts match. So this is the timber trails. So somewhere between Sidonia and Sidonia, that green part is where the Lebanon is. From Lebanon, it has been felled. The timber has been felled and it will pass the Tyre, and it will come to Joppa by sea. Okay, and from there it has been dragged to Jerusalem through different means. So this is the timber trails that remained. So the history also is there and is really sleeping there. Okay, next. In the entered apprentice, you were presented with a lambskin or white leather apron, because the lamb has in all ages deemed an emblem of innocence. He who therefore wears the lambskin as the badge of a mason is thereby continually reminded of the purity of life and conduct, which is so essentially necessary to his gaining the admission to that celestial lodge above, where the supreme architect of the universe presides. The ritual supports by saying that Masonic tradition informs us that at the building of King Solomon's temple, the workmen were known or distinguished by the manner in which they wore the apron. But for the fact that there was no mention of this apron was there in the Old Testament. The lecture also contains two other statements which had no biblical basis. First, the lecture states that the guards were placed at the east, south, and west gates of King Solomon's temple. No mention of these gates is made in the accounts of King Solomon's temple provided in the scripture. The lecture also mentions that the first stone of foundation of the building is placed in the northeast corner. No biblical, this was one of the most important thing in our Masonic rituals, but in no biblical account of the temple of the building of the temple mentions the placement of the first stone, and therefore this statement is derived solely from the tradition of operative masons and the subsequent allegories. So here, as mentioned here, the Old Testament gives no reference. Now let me get into the illustrated lecture. So illustrated lecture, brethren, is basically it gives the details and the descriptions and the sizes and the measurements is what we are comparing from our Masonic account, and whether it is, we are just checking whether it is it has been told the right way, or is it mentioned, is not mentioned in the Old Testament. So the illustrated lecture is said to relate more particularly to the lodge. It is no surprise then that the contents relies heavily on the biblical account of the King Solomon's temple in order to rationalize the norms, support, covering, furniture, ornaments, lights, and jewels found in the lodge. It is said that the form of lodge is an oblong square parallelepiped extending from east to west and between north and south, from the center to the surface, and from the earth to the highest heaven. The information regarding the shape and the orientation of the lodge does indeed originate from the biblical account of King Solomon's temple. 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 2 reads, the temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was 60 cubits long, 20 wide, and 30 high. 2 Chronicles also says the same thing. Chapter 3, verse 3 reads, the foundation Solomon laid for temple, for the building of the temple of God was 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide. The portico of the front of the temple was 20 cubits long across the width of the building and 20 cubits high. Therefore, the shape would be an oblong, square, or rectangle. So the facts match. The orientation of the building requires a study of the pillars at the entrance of the temple. This is one of the brilliant findings that we have here in this slide. While these pillars were discussed in more details in the section pertaining to the Masonic lecture, it is necessary to have a brief description of the position here to prove the lodge orientation. Lodge orientation, where it opens, whether it is opening east facing, west facing, so that we are going to make a study and come to a conclusion with known facts. The New International Version of King's New International Version is two Bibles have been referred. One is King James and one is New International Version. So it comes in the last credits and reference. I have mentioned that the mentioned 1 Kings chapter 7 verses 21 reads, "He erected the pillars at the portico of the temple. The pillar to the south he named Jachin, and one to the north Boaz." Yes, brethren, there is a spelling which is there as which is different from the others, but it is as what is there in the Bible is what is I have imported. So this is because basically as there was a paper by Vashur brother Venkat, wherein in the olden days we have heard that it is all the accounts have been transmitted through oral recitation. So it is through the memory or to whatever the account that we have seen is what has been transmitted from generation to generation to generation. So in that time, okay, maybe there may be a dialect problem, or maybe writing mistakes. So these kind of things are expected when we are dealing with such ancient scriptures. So however, that does not clearly define which way the temple was oriented. Luckily, the King James Version provides some light to this confusion. Here, 1 Kings chapter 7:21 reads, "To then he set up the pillars by vestibule of the temple. He set up the pillar on the right and called its name Jachin." Here it's right. "And he set up the pillar on the left and called its name Boaz." So the north pillar was also the left hand pillar, which means the temple did face the east. So here is the evidence. The temple did face the east. So the ritual states that the temple faces east because it was modeled based on the tabernacle. While this is a likely assumption, the idea that temple was built based on the tabernacle was not expressly written in any of the Old Testament. So, however, the facts match. The illustrated lecture specifies the ornaments of the lodge as a mosaic payment, indented tassel, and blazing star. The blazing star is stated in the ritual as a being a Masonic symbol. However, the ritual states that the Masonic payment is a representation of ground floor of King Solomon's temple. The indented tassel of the beautiful tessellated borders or the skirting which surrounded it. So this is the Masonic account. So let us see what the Bible says. The New International Version of 1 Kings chapter 6 verses 15 reads, "He lined its interior walls with cedar boards, paneling them from the floor of the temple to the ceiling, and converted the floor of the temple with planks of juniper." So this they are saying about the floor and the walls. So both the versions says that. In one version it says it is fear, and one certain version says is spine. So but almost yes, the floor and the walls were done with wood. However, in the opening of lodge in the entered apprentice, the senior warden says that he was made an entered apprentice in a regularly constituted lodge of entered apprentice, duly assembled in a room or place representing the ground floor of King Solomon's temple. This is a Masonic account. So the comparison of flooring of the lodge to the flooring of King Solomon's temple is probably a statement which means that a lodge of entered apprentice represent the ground floor of Solomon's temple, and the word mosaic has nothing to do with any actual flooring of the temple. So the intended tassel here, according to the Bible, the intended tassel is an adaptation of the description of the temple given in the Old Testament. The Bible readings of 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 15 were already quoted in the respect in this aspect, and the and verse 18 reads, "Inside of the temple was cedar, carved with gourds and open flowers. Everything was cedar; no stone was seen." So such is the decoration. This would indicate that the walls were decorated. So Masonic statement. So the Masonic statement, the intended tassel of a beautiful tessellated borders or skirting which surrounded it, referring to the decorated wall found in the temple. So the facts match. The final reference to the actual construction of King Solomon's temple in the first degree refers to the lights of the lodge. This is something very, I personally like this finding. Brilliant. See, the Masonic ritual states a lodge has three lights situated east, west, and south, none in the north, because of the situation of the King Solomon's temple. That having been situated so far north of the ecliptic, that the sun or moon at the meridian height could dart no ray or light in the north part of it. So north part is always dark. So that's what it says. So let me juxtapose it to the scripture and let us find out the real meaning of it. The temple did have windows, as 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 4 reads. He made narrow windows high up in the temple walls. However, this excerpt from the ritual deals with the geographical location of King Solomon's temple. The temple was built at Jerusalem. Geographically, Jerusalem is positioned north of equator as well as north of Tropic of Cancer. So, therefore, the sun or the moon would never be positioned north of the temple, and no light would ever enter directly through the windows on the north side of the temple, even at the meridian height. So this is very common in our, if you go to temples in South India. So you come to see many temples with different phenomena like this. So maybe at 7 o'clock only the entire ray will directly fall on the sanctum santorium. So all these things. So this is the peculiar way of the architecture which has been maintained, and it is justifying the rituals what we are following. So the facts match. So next, let's move on to the Masonic lecture. The Masonic lecture is littered with references to King Solomon's temple. The first reference to the construction of King Solomon's temple details the working habits of craftsmen who built the temple. The ritual says they worked 6 days before receiving the wages, but did not work on the seventh. For in 6 days God created the heaven and earth and rested upon the seventh day. So this was a clear piece which was discussed in the during the last paper with when which was presented by Brother John, and Vashul Brother Abel has was kind enough to explain this to us. So here again I am just substantiating his explanation. So the Old Testament says this is doubtless a reference of the fourth commandment, as according to Exodus 20, Exodus 20, chapter 20, verse 8 to 10. It reads, "Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day to your Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in towns." As a commandment was the Jewish law at the time of building of King Solomon's temple, it is certain that the craftsmen conformed to this regulation. So the facts match. A section of Masonic literature gives a detailed description of the pillars at the entrance of the King Solomon's temple. That on the left was called Boaz, and that on the right, Jachin. The ritual further states the pillars which these represent were cast in clay grounds on the plains of Jordan between Sukkot and Seradatha. So Seradatha has been pronounced and or spelt in different ways, which, as I said mentioned earlier, is because of the dialects and the spellings. Saradatha, where all the holy vessels for King Solomon's temple were cast by one Hiram, a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali. The King James version affirms the name and position of the pillars. 1 Kings chapter 7 verse 21 reads, "Then he set up the pillars by the vestibule of the temple. He set up the pillar on the right and called its name Jachin, and he set up the pillar on the left and called its name Boaz. So this is where the pillars were, were supposed were told or to be or we believe to be made between Sukut and Seratan. See, it is Seradatan and here is Seratan. So there's a difference between the dialects, and the word Jachin is defined as he establishes, and the word Boaz is defined and in him is strength in the notes found in New International Version. So this is a biblical version, which so the facts match between our Masonic account and the biblical account. The facts match. So this is said to allude to a promise made by God to David. This can be found in 2 Samuel chapter 7. So So this is obviously a reference to King Solomon's temple and services, and serves well to tie the meaning of the pillars into the story. However, nothing is mentioned in the books of 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles of the pillars. Allusion to this promise. It is therefore a Masonic conjecture. So this here, this is an account of 2 Samuel chapter 7 verse 18 to 13. So here now, tell my servant David, this is what the Lord Almighty says. I took you from the pasture, from tending the flock, and appointed you ruler over my people of Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone, and I have cut off all your enemies from before you. Now I will take your name great, like the names of greatest men on earth. But the thing is that even though God has given the promise, we have already discussed that He was not going to make the temple. His son King Solomon was going to make the temple. So that is the synopsis of these verses. Going forward, the various spellings of these places can be attributed as I said translation. The pillars were cast in this location along with the number of items that was created to adorn the temple. So the Bible also says they had them cast in clay molds in the plains of Jordan between Sukkot and Seratan. And 2 Chronicles chapter 4 and 4 verses 17 also says on the plain of Jordan, the king had them cast in clay molds between Sukkot and Sarada. So here also the differences are there. But this is there is an ample description and ample evidence that the facts match. So here comes the builder of these pillars was a man named Hiram. This is Hiram with, and here in 1 Kings chapter 7 verses 13 to 14 reads, King Solomon sent to Tyre and brought Huram. He was called Huram. Hiram was called Huram, whose mother was a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and whose father was from Tyre and a skilled craftsman in bronze. Huram was filled with wisdom, with understanding, and with knowledge to all kinds of bronze work. He came to King Solomon and did all the work assigned to him. This is interesting to know that. See, this is from the Bible. Okay, so we are taking some some cues from there about the Hiramavif and his whereabouts. It is interesting to note that the Danites were located near Sidonians, Phoenician people. Judges chapter 18 verse 7 reads, so the 5 men departed and went to Laish. They saw the people who were there, how they dwelt safely in the matter of Sidonians, quiet and secure. There were no rulers in the land who might put them to shame for anything. They were far from Sidonians, and they had no ties with anyone. This would make the widow's relationship to a man entire very possible. That's what there is a thing. He is a widow, and because she has married a man from Tyre who was Hiramabi's father. However, she could have been a member of tribe of Naphtali living in Dan. It is an interesting conflict between two accounts with no absolute explanation found in the scripture. Still, okay, it is a good way of at least presenting the facts. However, the account of man Hiramabif is above quoted in 2 Chronicles verses chapter 2 verses 13 to 14 expands the breadth of his expertise. Therefore, Hiramabi was a jack of all trades. He was the artificer designated to craft all of the decorative adornments of the temple. So the facts match. So the pillars are described in detail in the Masonic ritual. So pillars is one of the we can do another paper especially for these two pillars. There's so much of material which is there and which can be researched and which can done justice to. The following experts in the Masonic account of the appearance of pillars. They were cast hollow. The better to serve as a safe repository for the archives of masonry against all indentations and conflagration. They were 35 cubits in height, 12 in circumference, and 4 in diameter, to which were added chapters of 5 cubits, each making not 40 cubits. So this maybe I'll just run through this because this is just to say on all the occasions it was said that it is 40 cubits high, whereas circumferences and the size diameter all are matching. But here and there, in certain chapters, in certain versions of Bible, okay, the height differs. Maybe in somewhere it's 40, somewhere it's 38, that kind of things. So but the other thing is to note is that there the chapters were adorned, the decorations were clearly correct, the lily work, network, and pomegranates, denoting peace, utility and plenty. Okay, so no mention of this is made in Bible of the pillars being cast hollow. This would make sense. Actually, it would definitely would have been cast hollow because this would make sense because the large pillars would be far more expensive and would be of incredible weight if they were not cast hollow. So one is weight, one is expensive. See, we found in last lecture of King Solomon, they said that he was he gone bankrupt because of his expensive ways of building this temple as well as any other temples also. So there were a lot of financial point which is accredited to this, so it definitely would have been a hollow. However, the phrase better to serve as a safe repository for the archives of masonry indicates that this is a Masonic assumption and on construction of the purpose of the pillar. There is clearly no mention made of any archives deposited in the pillars. So likewise, there is no reference in the Bible. The Old Testament features conflicting accounts of the height of the pillars, as I said. So basically, here, there, 5 cubits. It is described in different way. So taking into account, no conflict arises around the measurement of diameter, which I mentioned of the pillars. The height doesn't match among the two books of scriptures in the in the Chronicles and in Kings. So it is interesting to note that New International Version states that the pillars together were 35. See, this is another very brilliant observation and very good way of getting the facts. States that the pillars together were 35 cubits. The notes at the text point out that the word together was added to reconcile the difference in the measurement of two versions. That shows the that gives the answer. This is doubtlessly on the speculation of the true value of the measurements, as two different quantities are provided in scripture. Yet another different account of dimension of the pillar exists. The New King James version reads that the height of one pillar was 18 cubits and the capital on that was of bronze. The height of capital was 3 cubits and the network and the pomegranates all around the capital were all of bronze. The second pillar was of the same with the network. Stranger still, the New International Version lists the measurement given in 2 Kings in feet, although the measurements given in this version are the correct size. The New International Version of the Bible doesn't give a conclusive answer to who authored these books. However, this version does say the books of 1 Kings and 2 Kings are actually part of the same work, which indicates that they had the same author. While the tradition of communicating history orally was common at that time, which was again emphasized by the paper by Koshu Brother Venkat, it is certainly odd that one author would provide two different measurements of the pillar. The true dimensions are still therefore unknown. So facts clash. So the chapters were adorned with lily, network, and pomegranates. And we have descriptions, and we have the certain discrepancies in these two. Mentioned three types of adornment found in the chapters. There were nets of network, twisted threads of chains for capitals, which were on the top of the pillars. 7 for one capital and 7 for the other capital. So he made the pillars and two rows around the one network to cover the capitals, which were on top of the pomegranates. So he did the other capitals. So the capitals, there were discrepancies on these two accounts of these two chapters. However, the 100 in Chronicles, the 100 pomegranates still it holds good. The discrepancy may be attributed to the fact that two books were created from two different oral accounts of the temple. The meanings attributed to these adornment are Masonic in origin. The scripture describes the shape of the chapters as bowl-shaped. Here again, this is a very controversial, thing. That is, here in the Bible, it says it's a bowl, and in our Masonic literature, it says it's a globe. So the facts clash here. So the ritual says these globes are two artificial spherical bodies on the convex surfaces of which are represented the countries, seas, and various parts of the earth, the face of the heavens, and planetary revolutions and other important particulars. There is absolutely no evidence in the Old Testament that there were representations of the globe or celestial bodies on the pillars built by the widow's son. That is Hiramavi. So the thing is, in the Bible, it may be we can come to a conclusion that the pillar supported a roof and did not terminate on the spherical globe as mentioned in the Masonic ritual. So that shows these two pillars were just an ornamental, bodies in front of the temple, which did not carry any weight or any. There was no functionality for those pillars, as as per the as per the evidences, as per the Masonic lecture. Whereas in the in the Old Testament says that it supported a roof. So the facts clash here. After learning about the pillars at the entrance of the temple, the lecture proceeds to discuss the winding staircase consisting of 3, 5, 7 steps. If one reads the account of the temple in the New International Version, he may well be confused as to where the Bible speaks of the winding stairs. This version mentions only a stairway which led to the ground floor to the middle level. However, in King James Version, the winding stairs can be found. In 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 8 reads, the door for the middle chamber was on the right side of the house, and they went up with winding stairs in the middle chamber and out to the middle of the third. No mention anywhere in the Bible of the stairways consisting 3, 5, and 7 steps. But fine, there is a winding stairs. There is a This is a Masonic addition, and a number of articles have been written on the meaning of these numbers, which we also have discussed. The last time when we had the chat, 3, 5, 7 are all significant. 9 are all significant numbers in Masonic account. At this point, it is necessary to explain the arrangement of the floors of King Solomon's temple. The New International Version provides an explanation of the arrangement of the temple, which can be difficult to compare with the Masonic teaching. So, facts is clashing. The house in the inner sanctuary of King Solomon's temple, or the Sanctum Sanctorum. The ground floor and the middle chamber, which are referred to in the Masonic degree, were actually side chambers built around the Sanctum Sanctorum. Facts clash. There are three levels of outer chambers. The ground floor and the middle chamber and the are mentioned in the Masonic ritual, and the third floor is neglected. There are also facts clash. So the Old Testament says, 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 5 to 8 reads, and against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the wall of the house round about, both the temple and of the oracle, and he made chambers round about. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without in the wall of the house he made narrowed rest round about, that the beams should not be fastened in the wall of the house. The house, when it was in building, was built of stone, made ready before it was brought thither. So there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron, which I'm just going back to the first historic lecture, in the house while it was built. So we were all divested of metals when we enter the temple as a first in the first entered apprentice ritual. The door for the middle chamber was on the right side of the house, and they went up with the winding stairs and to the middle chamber and out to the middle into the third. So the next part of the lecture is a journey through the inner and outer doors of the middle chamber. From the early discussion, the orientation of the temple, it is understood that direction referred to as the right in the as right in the King's James version is in the southern direction. Therefore, the entrance to the outer door was situated on this in the south and corresponded to the junior warden station as representation of the outer door, as his station resides in the south. Judging from the scriptures, it would appear that the discussion of the outer door should come before the section on the winding stairs. No discussion on the inner door takes place in scripture, and therefore this Masonic tradition that it exists on the west side of the chamber. When the chamber is the recipient of lecture, receives the wages, corn, wine, and oil. This comes from the agreement made between King Solomon of Israel and King Hiram of Tyre. So the facts match. That is, they were given the grains, wine, and oil told, as told in the Bible, as told in the Masonic lecture. While no mention of corn is made, it can be assumed that this is simply a substitution of wheat and barley, as it is, excuse me, as it is another staple grain. Therefore, the Masonic definition of craftsman wages are indeed the same wage that Old Testament confirms were given to the craftsmen of the temple. So, facts match. This is a fantastic finding. So, the last mention of King Solomon's temple in this lecture occurs during the discussion of letter G as the initial of geometry. This lecture mentions that King Solomon's temple escaped not the unsparing ravages or barbarous foes. This is recorded in 2 Chronicles, chapter 36, 18 to 19, wherein King Nebuchadnezzar has pillaged and sacked the temple in 1526 BC, as I mentioned in the timelines. So this is what is it has been recorded. So this is a Hiramic lesson. What we see here is that this paper will not cover the Hiramic legend of this degree, because it is just that, a legend. This is a big session which is needed for that. The history lecture also summarizes his story. The proof that he is only a legend can be found in the biblical account of the construction of King Solomon's temple. The historic lecture begins by stating that Hiram the craftsman was killed prior to the completion of the temple. However, it is not in agreement with Old Testament, because both the chapters reads that Huram finished the work he had undertaken for King Solomon in the temple of God. So the details pertaining to the assassination are entirely Masonic in origin. So that's the facts just clashing. So the advanced illustrated lecture. The introduction of the lecture deals specifically with the building of King Solomon's temple. The ritual says the magnificent structure was supported by 1,453 columns and 2,906 pilasters, all hewn from the finest Parian marble. Actually, this is not correct, because Parian marble is found in Italy. So bringing something from Italy to Jerusalem at that point of time was one thing. It is very expensive. One thing, it is literally very hard. And third is that if something of such big magnitude was performed, it would have definitely it would have been in the Hebrew text, but it's not there. So it has become it's only a Masonic development. So there is no reference in the Old Testament. The Masonic, this is one of the final and one of the very interesting, and it comes to the conclusion. The Masonic one gives There are so many, there are three grandmasters and 3,300 masters and 8,000, 80,000 fellow crafts and 70,000 interpreters, bearers of the burdens. And the three grandmasters are not specifically referred to in the Bible, but King Solomon of Israel, King Hiram of Tyre, and Hiram of are the three main characters of the construction of King Solomon temple. It is interesting to note that King Solomon was a Jew, and King Hiram was, the Tyre king was a Phoenician, and Hiram Abif, maybe by his birth he is, he can be a Jew, he can be a non-Jew. This lays to the foundation that Masons need only to believe in a supreme being. This is an underlying factor, and not in a specific doctrine, because only one man. See, this we are talking about 32 centuries back. They believe that you have to just believe in a supreme being, not to belong to a particular religion, because only one man and probably two, okay, involved in building King Solomon's temple was not a Jew. It would be absurd for Masons to limit their membership to one religious discipline when the allegory which they base their order on contains men of different religion. Also, three different nationalities of men were employed as craftsmen during this project. So, one Kings also says the same thing. So, men from Byblos cut the wood, and there were other people also to build the temple. So, the conclusion: the construction of temple was a multicultural affair. This certainly provides an excellent allegory on which the Universal Brotherhood of Masonry can base its teaching. The Masonic account of construction of King Solomon's temple presents an interesting weave of biblical information and Masonic tradition. If a Mason took the ritual at its word and assumed that it borrowed only from Old Testament and never invented any part of the story to enhance its symbolic meaning, he would be quite mistaken. While the ritual borrows liberally from scriptural accounts of the project, it definitely invents a number of facts relating to the building of the temple. However, despite the discrepancies between Masonic ritual and Bible, perhaps the most intriguing information presented by the Bible account of King Solomon's temple is the universal nature of the group of craftsmen who constructed the temple. Bang on. More than 150,000 men have said to be labored on the temple. These men are of different races and creeds and constituted the craft which symbolizes our modern Masonic assemblies. They were united to build a temple deity, one that would become the envy of architects. It appears that perhaps the modern craft that ancient assembly wasn't so different at all. Moreover, the underlying fact of indulgence in some serious self-transformation process which makes good men better. And today also it holds good, even after 32 centuries, by following this ancient Masonic ritual is priceless. So the credits, this is from Freemasonry.com, and bro Terence Satchel is the one who is. But I have added many of my findings also. I reading this is the Bible, which has been the the references, New International Version Bible, and the Holy Bible of King James, and glimpses of world history, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and learnreligions.com. So and thank you so much. And I would my special thanks to worshipful brother Madhav, and my special thanks to worshipful brother Dr. Char, who has been always been motivating people like us to present and just jump into the into the bandwagon and see and learn more into the into the Masonic rituals and other things. And I always and last but not the least, worshipful brother, very worshipful brother Venkat, who's been always been a who's been a source of inspiration to all of us, and we always look forward. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, brother Manoj. I think pretty heavy stuff, I must admit. It was a great way, and I think a very good sequel to what brother John had presented, in our last meeting. Uh, I personally I enjoyed, because a lot of things, even I was grappling with what's happening in the way Old Testament describes things, as well as what our Masonic traditions are. And I think the research work what you have done is I think it is truly world class. I think
Thank
it's a
you.
really world-class paper which you have presented today.
My
Extremely proud that all our brethren are coming out with such papers, and uh, a lot of food for thought. With that, I will open up the floor. We are at 8:54. We will have these question answers till 8:58, 8:59. Then we will just break for a quick, reading our glasses for the toast for absent brethren, and thereafter we will continue the session for with the Q&A session. I'll open up the floor. Any thoughts anyone would like to share? The floor is open. Let's start off with some of our senior brethren who have joined in. I have personally attended a lot of sessions by worshipful brother Ramesh Bambani, who is himself a very, very articulate Mason. Worshipful brother Ramesh Bambani, any thoughts?
Well, Brother Madhav, nothing to say much about it, but it was very enlightening, the comparison between the biblical facts and what we learn as a Masons. There are bound to be differences, which are very quite natural, which I believe, because a lot of things we go through and talk in terms of what you say, uh, symbols. We use a lot of symbol things. So obviously, when we Mason must have traveled through the history, the ritual must have gone through a lot of differences to match up with the symbols. Because especially when I think the non-operative Masons joined, so there has to be certain changes which must have been brought in to accommodate all these things. So such differences, I think, are very, very natural, which would happen with in every kind of a system. So when you bring in non-operative Masons, this is what I believe the changes, the kind of interpretation, all these things must have got in. But it is really interesting, Brother Manoj, that you have gone through all these things, put a lot of efforts. It's really enlightening to know what possible differences must have gone. So thank you very much. It was really a pleasure uh, going through your lecture.
Thank you,
you.
Worshipful Ramesh Bambani ji, because I have a lot of respect for you. I attend a lot of your sessions when you conduct for the Nagpur Brethren. I am one of the regulars who attends all your sessions.
I know,
Uh,
I know. Thank you. I know you are so regular. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Worshipful Brother Bambani. I also request a few of the other brethren who have joined in. Worshipful Brother Nagesh, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I just posted on the message this thing just now. It's a fantastic work, and the way that it's been presented is so good. And I'm sure a lot of research has gone in this, and it's really a fantastic compilation of the comparison between Old Testament and the Masonic rituals. It's excellent. It's so informative, and thanks a lot for this. And it's really enlightening for us. Thank you.
And what is more, you'll be more interested to know is, brother Manoj, how long have you been a Mason now?
Uh, and probably about I got by and probably about a year. Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That's what I must say. I'm
Yeah,
really happy
fantastic.
that we at Lord Silvery Dawn have some
That's
fantastic
fantastic.
younger brethren, brother Manoj, brother Ankit, brother Sushil, brother Christabel, fantastic younger generation,
Worshipful
and
Master.
nurtured by our very worshipful brother Venkat and worshipful brother Dr. Char, worshipful brother Bimal, worshipful brother Vishwa. I think we are coming out with some fantastic papers. So thanks a lot
Worshipful
for that.
Master. Worshipful Master. With your
Yes.
permission.
Excellent, excellent work, really.
Yes, brother Bimal.
First thing, you forgot to include me among the younger brethren. Second thing, it is 2 minutes to toast.
Yes, thank you. Our DOC is very punctual. So, brethren, I would request if everybody could charge their glasses, please. And brother Bimal, if you can take the toast.
Thank you, Worshipful Master. A very worshipful brother Venkat will put on his stop clock, which he does as usual.
5 minutes and finished.
So, Dr. Char,
Yes,
we
Yeah,
are
we are
taking
at
the toast in a
8:59:25.
minute. We are taking the
Venkat,
toast
I
in a
think
minute. After that,
Venkat, the clock has gone.
I'd like
after
to
that,
say a little bit after the
yes,
toast, please.
yes, sir, with
Sure,
pleasure,
Dr.
with
Char.
pleasure. Very worshipful brother Venkat, do you have your clock on for us?
Yes, it's 8:59, 46, 47.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Brethren, we drink to absent brethren
Cheers.
wherever they are,
To
Cheers.
absent
Cheers.
wherever they
brethren.
may be.
Cheers to all absent brethren.
Cheers, cheers,
Cheers.
Absent
Cheers.
brethren.
yes,
To absent brethren.
To the absent brethren.
yes.
Cheers.
Thank you, brethren, for this toast.
To the
And we will now, I think Dr. Char had wanted to make a point. Go ahead, worshipful brother Dr. Char.
Brother Manoj, this is a brilliant research work that you have done. We have always known that the information we know about uh, the temple and King Solomon has been mainly from the Bible and whatever archaeological artifacts we've got is not very much as yet. So, and knowing that we have got most of our information from the Bible, and for you to pick out all that in detail and give us the connection between our Masonic lectures and the Bible is, I think, very great. I've got to congratulate you, and I'm very happy that you've done it, and I'm sure you will go on with it. As you've said, the two pillars are also there, and I think that's also will be a good lecture later on by one of you to be presented. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, worshipful brother Dr. Char. Thank you so much for the words. And words.
Thank you, worshipful brother Dr. Char. Brother John, this is a fantastic sequel to what you gave last in our last meeting. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. Congratulations, Brother Manoj. Brilliant work as expected. I think he had done a fantastic research and a good comparison. In fact, if you remember, when I said that I'll present on King Solomon's Temple, that time itself, I was saying that if some brother can actually present a comparison, it would be very nice. And fortunately, actually, I had never talked to Manoj, but Manoj somehow did this exactly the same thing. Which
In
so,
fact, brother John,
yeah.
when brother Manoj had sent me his topic, I said, "Boss, isn't it very similar to what brother John had given?" Then he said, "No, brother Madhav, it is slightly different. Please, this is what I'm going to cover." Then I realized that it would be a fantastic sequel to what you have given.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, actually, I think it completed the entire spectrum by comparing these two accounts. So, as I said, Manoj did a brilliant job.
Thank you.
Couple of things that I want to add is these contradictions in different books in Bible. It is not just in King, the two versions of the King, or in Chronicles. These contradictions are there throughout Bible. So many of these books, which are actually attributed to some particular authors. If you take, for example, even the three books of Solomon. If you take Ecclesiastes also, you will see a lot of plagiarism even in Ecclesiastes. So actually, many of the passages are a direct pick, actually, from the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is originally an epic poem from ancient Mesopotamia. Probably is the first written literature.
Oh,
So many of these things probably we don't know. It is attributed to a particular author, but it could be written by someone else. Even historians say that that the first 5 books of Bible, it's supposed to be written by Moses. But if you see that even the 5 books, there are a lot of contradictions between these 5 books. So it cannot be the same author while it is attributed to Moses. Throughout, I mean, even in New Testament, first of all, New Testament itself, if you take the Gospel, it is supposed to be written by the direct disciples of Christ, whereas they were all illiterate fishermen. And New Testament is written by Greek, in Greek language. How can illiterate fishermen write in Greek language? So these are all
God intervention.
questions. These are all questions, and it's just that it's been attributed to some authors, but historians say that actually it is written by someone else, and many of these things are just attributed to certain people. So that could be the reason why there are so many contradictions between all these books.
Thank you, Brother
Worshipful
John. That
Master,
was
if I
very
may.
informative. Thanks a lot, Worshipful Brother Rumi
Worshipful
Khan, for
Master.
joining in. I know that you have to leave. Thank you for joining in. Any thoughts which you'd like to share before leaving?
An excellent presentation by Brother
Thank you.
Manoj and well researched. And I suppose what Brother John said, there are always contradictions going to be there between the different authors who have written the books. Thank you. Good
Thank you.
night.
Thank you
God
so much.
bless.
Thanks, Worshipful Brother Rumi. Very worshipful Brother Venkat, your thoughts?
Um, first at a very high level, in the startup world, they say there's a term used, pivot. So you launch a business plan and something wrong happens, and then you end.
1 minute. I think Brother Bimal wrongly muted you.
I beg your pardon. I was looking to mute Manoj. I muted you by mistake. My apologies.
I didn't know that in this lodge we had a district grand muter.
No, I officially appointed
He's the
myself to
master
that
of
position.
ceremonies, he's not the muter of ceremonies. Anyway, coming back.
So,
So,
by the way, this is all getting recorded, huh? This is all getting recorded.
yeah. So in the business world, there is this thing called pivot. You do a business plan, you think of a product, you have some mission, goal, whatever, and then something strange happens, and then you pivot, and then you change everything. That is one, point number one. The second thing is that it is said that the Chinese characters for kanji characters for opportunity and chaos are the same. And this presentation today is a kind of culmination of several thoughts that I had. Sushil, John, Manoj, some of the things that I did, and so many of the other papers and all that happened, was that we started the year with a certain plan. You were installed, and you were this, and then the COVID hit us within about maybe we just 40 days of your installation, and look how beautifully we have handled the situation. you know if the COVID was not there, what would we have been doing? We would have been doing the same old chakki ka atta piecing, to use a Hindi phrase. We would have been attending the meetings, we would have been initiating, we have been passing, we have been racing, we have been talking about the ritual ceremonies, we have been, doing various things. But what is very happy, I mean, let me not go into the facts or this, but what is really very happy is that this kind of a situation has been so beautifully handled by the lodge. Okay. And I'm seeing several other lodges. The other lodges are not even having meetings. On WhatsApp, people are not even responding. That is what is happening in many, many other lodges. And look at how our lodge has, handled it. One is, of course, the leadership, virtual master, that is very, very important to make this possible. So I am very happy that brethren like Manoj, I have gone. There's a huge amount of time that goes in. I have written one or two papers. I have presented. It is not easy, and even after you write, when you write a paper, there is so much that you have to leave off, because you just have 45 minutes and you don't want to make it very boring. At the same time, you want to have depth. So it's always a balance between depth and general interest. And Manoj, I think, has struck a very, very nice balance between both of them. The depth has come out very, very well, and at the same time, he has kept it interesting enough for the ordinary Masons who's not so much into esoteric knowledge to still make it interesting. So that fantastic paper, Manoj, really, really very good efforts, and this. But lastly, I will say that there will always be differences. The Ramayana has got about 20 authors, and the 20 authors have different versions. Every author is not the same, and every version of the Ramayana, as recorded by an author, has got different ways in which things happen, and these versions are going to happen, and there are going to be differences. And I think we should enjoy the differences. It's not about one is right and one is wrong. It's about two different people expressing two different views, and both of them being equally enjoyable. Thank you, Manoj, for the very nice evening. Very
Thank you.
nice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Brother Venkat. I think what you said very rightly, that those differences, the way even Brother Manoj pointed out, I think the way he put it across was fantastic. It was very subtly put. So thank you for that, Brother Manoj, and thank you very much, very worshipful Brother Venkat, for that. I thank also worshipful Brother Nagesh, who had joined us from Pune. Thank you very much, worshipful Brother Nagesh. Look forward for you to attend our future sessions too. Worshipful Brother Tempton, any thoughts?
Tempton, you are muted.
This was an excellent presentation. Many congratulations to Manoj for doing the hard work and giving a good presentation. Many of the facts also I was unaware of, so I got enlightened on this topic, and it was really a good. It was a pleasure to join in.
Thank you, Worship Brother Tempton. Worship Brother Vishwa.
I mean, a very good job done by Manoj. I think the quality of the presentation is definitely a very, very high standard, very well researched. I'm only echoing what others have said on the same subject. I do look forward to other younger brethren now coming up with similar topics and well researched presentations. I think it will make our own understanding of Masonry far more richer. And I'm really, thankful to Manoj for having taken this effort. And of course, all the presenters who have done equally good job in the past. I missed large parts of, Manoj's presentations because I had some problems with the mic, the camera, the sound, all kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to, viewing the recorded version once that is ready, so that I can get a better understanding, of Manoj's presentation. Anyway, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Worship Brother Vishwa.
Thank you.
Worship Brother Vijay, thanks for joining in. Any thoughts?
Yeah, very good evening, Virtual Master. I hope I'm audible. Because
Yeah,
something
sure.
has popped up on my screen, so I was not
No,
sure.
you're audible.
Yeah, so apologies because I also joined in a bit late, but of whatever presentation was given and I could follow, I would definitely like to congratulate Brother Manoj. Very in-depth report. I really specifically liked the amount of stress he gave on the pillars, because that information was very in-depth, and it was really nice to know so many things about very simple things which we just know about. But when we go through such research papers, we really understand what goes behind it. So excellent presentation, and a lot of hard work put into it. So thanks a lot, Brother Manoj. And Virtual Master, thanks for inviting. And sorry, I'll have to just use this platform because I'll have to sign off.
Sure.
There is a different Aarti waiting today, because this Aarti of Ganeshji in our campus is getting done with social distancing. So there are there are some circles marked, and unless you go and grab one of the circles, you'll miss that. Okay, so,
Go ahead. Sure.
okay, so thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
joining.
you.
Worship Brother Vijay.
All the very best.
Thank you very much for joining in. Yeah, Brother Shekhar.
Thank you, Worshipful Master, for inviting us again. In fact, I was introspecting that had I not attended the 4 sessions, including the one today, my Masonic knowledge would have been pre-COVID. I think I have learned more in these 4 sessions than actually what I would have learned had had we all been in our normal situations. I get so much of time. I introspect, and I'm also fortunate that my wife is a Catholic, so I relate to a lot of things what she explains to me sometimes. So it becomes so easier for me to understand this in such a detail. And today and the last week, the presentations were awesome. And believe me, sir, I'm grateful that I'm invited for such meetings, and thank you for inviting us again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brother Shekhar. Thanks a lot for taking time out and attending. Brother Jeff.
Well, I think I would like brother worshipful brother Vishwa Mohan said that I will be literally echoing all the words that I said earlier. But thank you for inviting me, and this was an excellent presentation by brother Manoj. And like I was typing in the text earlier, there are a lot of the questions that I had, and I think I'd asked brother John as well about the ritual connections to the biblical text. And a lot of the questions are a lot more clear now. I have a little bit more clarity and the answers to that. And I really look forward to learning more now. The one thing about reading and understanding is the more answers you get, the more questions you always have.
Absolutely.
So, so now that these are a little more clear to me, I look forward to reading up on these topics, learning more about it, advancing in my own Masonic journey. And I like Brother Shekhar also mentioned that I cannot thank you enough for inviting me for these sessions, because I, being an extremely new, I mean, Brother Manoj is a year old, and I'm still not completing yet to complete a year, but I have learned so much in these past 4 months, 5 months, attending Brother Worship Brother Venkat's sessions, yours Lord sessions, and various sessions from our brethren from from various countries, different constitutions. It's been amazing, and I really look forward to listening to the next session and being a part of it. And the more I learn, I think the more I I want to keep learning. I want to keep going. It's like an addictive drug, the knowledge and the wisdom that we get here. So thank you so
Thanks a
much.
lot. Yeah, thanks a lot, brother Jeff. Absolutely. I think I too
Worshipful
echo.
Master, can
Last four
I,
months have been quite a journey for me. Yes, worshipful brother Vishwa.
just a question. I don't know whether I think something. This is something that John had touched upon. Probably Manoj is also. Or maybe I missed that part in Manoj's presentation. My understanding that there were some 12 tribes, at the time of King Solomon, right? And those those tribes. I mean, what kind of rivalries existed between those tribes, and what kind of understanding or what kind of battles that were there between the tribes? Have they been recorded in the Bible, in the Old Testament?
Uh, John, I think you can answer that question.
Um,
Brother John.
See, these 12 tribes are basically the 12 sons of Jacob.
Mhm.
Jacob was the son of Isaac, Abraham's son. Now, um, I don't know whether there is any enmity between the tribes, but uh, King David was from the tribe of Judah. So naturally, even Solomon was from that particular tribe.
Mm.
But in one place, it is also mentioned that Solomon was more fond of his own tribe and also the tribe of Benjamin. So when there were taxes and all, he used to tax the other 10 tribes more than these two tribes. So those tribes were not very happy with the King Solomon as well as his son. So during King Solomon's period, they were all together, but immediately after Solomon's death, when his son took over, he couldn't really retain all the tribes. So only two tribes he could become the king of. The remaining 10 tribes actually split away.
So
But
who ruled them?
uh, there was
Who
there
ruled
was another general or someone. I don't remember the name of that guy. He
them?
became the king. But also it looks like, I mean, it's not directly mentioned in Bible. Jehovah was only the they had other gods also. It is not, while it's not mentioned in Bible, but some of the history books say that even between the tribes they even had other gods, and that is also the reason why the first commandment is you should not have any other gods, because that time also they had other gods. So Moses was trying to unify the religion in the first place. Uh, later, but they retained some of those gods. And whenever, even when Moses went up to the hill to get the commandments, by that time they created another god and started worshiping. So that's why when he came down first time, he got very angry seeing them worshiping other gods, and he actually threw the tablets down and broke the tablets. Then again he went up second time and got those stone tablets again. That's what Bible says. Uh, So probably when they actually, what, and also what Bible says, this other tribe, the 10 tribes got completely dissolved because they got married into other castes. They couldn't actually keep their ingenuity. They got in the process, they got completely dissolved, and only these two tribes remained, Benjamin and Judah.
When you said dissolved, could it mean that they merged into Phoenicians or?
Yeah, they merged into other caste and they got married into.
Would it be that the 10 tribes went to King Tyre? I mean, King of Tyre, who was a Phoenician, right?
Yeah.
So maybe the 10 tribes were given as payment to the King of Tyre.
See, there is one. See, I don't know the complete thing. I need to come back on that. But there is one instance where it is said that Solomon had given 20 cities, 20 towns, not cities, 20 towns to the king of Tyre as a reward. But however, he was very upset when he saw those places because they were not developed places. So there is one instance where king of Tyre telling Solomon, brother, what you have done. I have done all this for you, and this is what you have, given me in return. But after that, there is nothing much that been talked about it in Bible.
So, but another question, not related to this exactly. The story of King Solomon and his descendants in the Old Testament extends up to how many generations?
See, how many generations? I don't know. But after I don't know which century. I don't remember which century the first temple got destroyed. But after that, again, it took them almost 40 years, 40 or 50 years or something like that, for them to come back to Jerusalem and build the second temple. Because during that period, again, they were slaves. Initially, they were slaves in Egypt. Again, after the destruction of the temple, again, they were slaves of the Babylonians, basically the Romans. Then again, they came back and built the second temple. And after that, the second temple again got destroyed in AD 70. And after that, they couldn't build it again. Even today, actually, I think that's what they want to do. They want to rebuild that temple. That's what they're waiting for.
So AD 70 is when the second temple got destroyed?
Yes. Because Jesus' period, the temple was there. Yes, in AD 70, that is.
In the New Testament, how many references are there to the temple?
Oh, New Testament, there are many references about the temple. Even there are many references even after Jesus' period where Peter and all is going to the temple. It's all mentioned.
Thanks, Brother John. Worshipful Brother Bimal, Worshipful Brother Prem, any thoughts?
Yes, Worshipful Master, thank you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate on the excellent paper presented. Very well researched, and I must admit, lots of things I didn't know personally. In Norway, we have a lodge, only a lodge, which is called a research and initiations. And their sole job is to research into various things, like this. And there's only one which is based in Oslo. And what they do is they have their meetings, whatever time it is. And after their presentation, they go around the whole of the country presenting what they have done, just like today has been done by Brother Bush. But I must admit, this is the first time I have really seen the comparison between the Masonic and the Bible and how the two times they coincide and sometimes they differ. So very interesting. And of course, as you know, Bible is not written in a day. It's written over the times and years by different people and different this thing. So there are bound to be some differences. So very interesting lecture, the thing, I must admit. That, I'm glad I was able to join after all. And I look forward to future research papers. And Venkat, I must admit, the lodge has done fantastically well with these virtual meetings, and I must admit, I've been able to join anyway. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to join. So thank you very much, and I hopefully I'll be able to join other meetings also in the not too distant future. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, worship brother Prem Prakash. Worship brother Bimal.
Thank you, Worshipful Master. To reiterate what very worshipful Brother Venkat said, with regard to this lodge, this lockdown has been a blessing. We would never, ever have gone into this sort of depth and this sort of research with a regular lodge. Like he said, we would have been doing routine things, initiating, raising, passing, whatever. But this has been a blessing in that respect. And worshipful Master, I give you credit, and very worshipful Brother Venkat, for keeping up the morale and the spirits of the brethren during these tough times. Thank you, brethren. I'm deeply grateful to you, and I'm proud to belong to this lodge. Thank you.
Thank you, worshipful brother Bimal. Brother Sushil Chandar. Brother Sushil, are you there?
Yes, yes. So, like I wrote uh, in the group, Worship Master, that this did not seem like a paper presentation. I thought it was like a book reading. It's so thoroughly researched. I think we have got another task. We need to convert these presentations. Of course, it's a good thing that they are being recorded, but we should be converting them in some kind of documents, PDFs with all the pictures there, so that it can be referred to. And I think this is something which shows how much effort Brother Manoj has taken. Many congratulations. Last few weeks he has kind of invested a lot of time and effort in this.
Thanks, Sushil, for the motivation and calling me constantly and asking what's happened to the presentation. Thanks a lot, brother Sushil.
Brother Ankit.
Worshipful Master, first of all, I just like to reiterate what everybody else has said. Brother Manoj has done a wonderful job, a fabulous job.
Thanks.
I think the hard work is there for all to see. This amount of he spent a, a great amount of time on this, and that is clearly seen in the presentation. Uh, Second, I'd like to thank him for clearing one of my uh, doubts that I've had for a long time, where which pillar is on the left and which pillar is on the right. So today I have some kind of clarity on that.
Breaking. Yeah.
So, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So that one doubt of mine has been cleared today, especially. I have two questions. One for Brother Manoj. Brother Manoj, the question that I wanted to ask you is: you have quoted in your reference that you have that you referred something of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. What is it
Yeah.
that in this you have referred? Because I was not able to understand that.
Yeah. That's
I think three.
for the timelines. For the timelines, brother Ankit. That's for the
Okay.
timelines. I have quoted the glimpses of world history. So right from 2800 BC to 600 AD, that's where I have referred those events and picked up the most focused events and put it on the presentation.
I see. I see.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you. And
Worshipful Master,
the
with your permission. Sorry,
You were
Ankit, you
told-
were saying something. Go on. Go on, go on.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
sorry.
Ankit.
No, no
After you're
issues, no
done.
issues. My second question is actually to both to Brother John as well as to the Worshipful Master. I believe that uh, all three of you are actually Brother Manoj and Brother John are the ones who have done maximum research on this. And I believe that Worshipful Master did mention once that he was reading some book that he had ordered, and one of the chapters on that was, did the temple really exist? So I just wanted to ask all three of you, in fact, what is it that that has come out of the research of Brother Manoj and Brother John. Do you think that
Yes,
the temple actually existed? Because archaeologically we're not able to find uh,
yes.
any evidence to that.
Solomon's temple in the Masonic tradition. Okay, yeah, it definitely it did exist. It did. My conclusion says that. Okay, did exist, and
Mhm.
there are evidences that it did exist. The temple did exist.
I will share this book with you, Brother Ankit, called King Solomon's
Yes, yes.
Temple. But you will be number two after Worshipful Brother Bimal, because he's the first one who
I,
has
I,
blocked it. So
Not at
I'm
all, sir.
glad. I'm glad you remembered that.
I can't forget you, Brother Bimal.
No, I'm hard to forget.
Sure. So I think thanks a lot. I think thanks a lot, first of all, for
Look,
attending. And I think great session. Uh, Personally, I learned a lot today, Brother Manoj. I think, the quality of your research and the way you presented it, it was truly,
Thank you.
you made me very proud that, our lodge is coming out with some serious stuff. And I think it's a fantastic combination. We have very senior brethren here with us, as well as very junior brethren. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much.
Any closing thoughts, very worshipful Brother Venkat, and then we'll sort of sign off.
If I may, worshipful master.
Bimal,
Worshipful
go ahead.
master.
Bimal, go ahead.
Yeah, Venkat. I'm into making big statements tonight. The first thing I said was I'm proud to be a member of this lodge. And now I'm telling you the second thing today. I am a child of this lodge, so this is my mother lodge. You will appreciate this. I am confident today, after everything that has happened in the past few months, today I can say with great confidence that the future of this lodge, Silvery Dawn Lodge, is in safe hands and it'll do well in the coming years. Thank you, brother. I may get a little emotional. Please excuse me, but I believe that to be the truth. Thank you, brother.
Cheers, worshipful Brother Bimal, for that.
Bimal, thank you very much for the confidence reposed in me. Nice to know that the future of the lodge is in very good hands. I'm just joking. You're talking like an old man here. Jokes apart, just a lighter movement. But definitely, I agree with you, Bimal, and I definitely do concur. And I have no last words. I've already said what I want to say, Worship Master, and I'm only happy and I'm proud again to belong to this lodge. This is also my mother lodge, and I'm a child of this lodge. And I was talking to somebody today. I don't remember who, and I was mentioning about oh, my son. Yeah, I was talking to my son Vivek, and we were talking about something Masonic, and something came up and all that. And I said that one normally remains very very strong allegiance to the mother lodge, and one doesn't resign from the mother lodge. One may not able to have a career can take you to any other city, but whatever it is, you try to maintain, and you also try to attend at least one meeting in a year. Make a sincere attempt and attend one meeting in a year. And Bimal reminded me that it is a mother lodge, and I said it is my mother lodge, and we're very happy to have people like Prem Prakash who make such a sincere effort to attend and to be there on every meeting. And and it really shows the quality of the lodge and the quality of the person. And thank you, Ashul Master, for again leading the lodge in a very turbulent year.
Thank you, sir. I think it's all thanks to I think all the brethren, especially our seniors, led by you personally. I think the amount of pressure what you put on all of us, I think that itself will ensure that we deliver the goods. You have been a force to reckon with. I think worshipful brother Bimal, worshipful brother Vishwa, worshipful brother Abel, and worshipful brother Dr. Char. I think all of us younger brethren, at least I not by age, but at least by number of years in masonry, but definitely I think we are all proud to be part of this great lodge. So with that, I will sign off, and we'll soon let you know about the next meeting details. I will have a chat with very worshipful brother Venkat as well as other brethren and get back to you. Thank you all for joining
Worshipful
in,
Master.
taking time. Yeah, please go ahead, brother Ankit.
Worshipful Master, just wanted to say that with your permission, as I had said, I think a couple of meetings back, after all the heavy duty research that has happened, uh, I'd like to present a paper on a very a more, shall I say, chilled out topic, uh, something to do with art and one of my favorite artists. It will not be as much masonry information related, but it is just something in a lighter vein that I would like to present.
Sure,
I,
but link it to masonry too, so that we see some different aspect.
I will do that. There is a small part of it which is related to masonry, so
So
then
the
I'll
next
link it.
meeting, Brother Ankit, then we will give you the honors.
So
Thank you
Ankit
so much.
already said it's a Renaissance artist, so I can guess who it is.
Brother John has been the Sherlock Holmes for quite some time on this. He was the first person who said, "Will you please declare the name of the person that you are planning
Have,
to
have,
show?"
have you noticed his haircut? With that kind of haircut, what do you expect?
He's extremely knowledgeable in that.
So, Brother Ankit, please go ahead. The next session is for you.
Devotion Master, before this, one more paper that I told my son to write, Vivek. As you all know, Vivek is a cinematographer and he's been an actor and he's very much in this. And we were having a discussion today about, oh, we did the rituals at home and the Ganesh Puja, and he helped me do it by reading out the rituals to me so that I don't have to keep looking at the book and doing it. And it went off smoothly. And then we had a talk about Masonic rituals and these rituals in general. And then the question came about whether we have to be word perfect or we have to be just words to the effect and not be word perfect. And then this discussion came, and I said we are slowly diluting, and we are saying that one need not be word perfect, but one of this. And he said no, but in theater, it is a very strict rule that you have to be word perfect, and you cannot use words that are synonyms or anything like that. And there's a long thesis on the entire books are written about why you have to be word perfect in theater, and of course in films also. Okay, so I said that will be very interesting to hear, because what does I mean, theater people are professional actors and they have to stick to the script and they have to by heart and they have to perform not one paragraph, two paragraph, but they have to sometimes perform for 2-3 hours and still be word perfect. So what goes into that? So I told him to make a presentation about this aspect of why theater requires actors to be word perfect and what is the science and what is the logic and all that. That is one, and then the second is how to deliver tone, inflection, etc., etc., etc. What makes somebody a good actor, etc. And I believe that it has many parallels conceptually between the rituals that we perform, and it is like drama, it is a bit like theater, and I think that there'll be learnings to take.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
So I told him to work on the presentation, and as and when it is ready, I'll bring him to the audience.
Sure. So the next session, very much to Venkat, we have Brother Ankit with his, a different theme and concept. So I'm looking forward for that personally. Thank you all. Good night, brethren. Thanks a lot for again taking time out and joining in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, worshipful master. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye
Yes.
bye. Good night.
Thank you, Worshipful Master. Thank you, brethren. Have a great evening. Thank you.